Welcome, everybody, to another live episode of the Unquestionably Raw NBA podcast. We are back once again talking The Last Dance. Today will be episode 3 and 4. We're going to break it up into two parts again. So for part one here, we have myself, Pete Toll. Mike Skills is back with us again. How are you doing, Mike? And we got Allana Tachauer back again. Part two, we'll have more guests on, so all that stuff will go. But let's just jump right into it. I'm going to you first, Mike. So far, just overall thoughts on episode 3.
Overall thoughts. I mean, it was a lot of things that I already knew. I mean, I'm like a diehard Bulls fan anyway.
I mean, you got the Bulls shirt on.
Yeah, of course. But it's like I woke up like this. So
fair enough.
No, I really love episode 3. I mean, I knew a lot of the stuff about Rodman and obviously like the Detroit and the Bad Boys. I really liked how they're weaving the story and doing it in kind of like a non-linear storyline. So yeah, it was amazing. And then that trip to Vegas, you know, I think if that trip to Vegas happens now in 2020 with social media, oh my God, like.
You don't really need to say much.
I mean, like, who is Dennis Rodman today? Like, the closest comparison is probably like Draymond. Could you imagine if Draymond disappeared for like 4 days in the middle of the Warriors season and no one knew where he was, and then Steph Curry had to go to his house, knock on the door, and wake him up drunk, laying in the bed with his girlfriend or whatever? Like,
didn't Rafer Alston disappear at one point though?
That I don't remember.
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of players have, but
I can't remember if it was him. It was someone on the Heat. He literally disappeared for like over 48 hours to the point of like the police getting called. And then he ended up like in the Bahamas and he just didn't want to deal with anyone anymore.
Chilling. Wow. He was chilling. He took a 48-hour vacation. He's went past 48 hours, but hey, it's Dennis. Allana, I know you have a lot to say about episode 3.
I mean, I literally loved every second of that. I was already a Rodman fan, but like, again, I feel like I was too young at the time to really appreciate him. Like, I loved his antics. Like, the fact that the guy married himself, like, that's a whole nother level of goals. But like, if I could have watched something on Rodman probably for the next like 7 episodes. I think to your point about Vegas, like, if we could have just seen that footage of him, like, not only him there, but like Michael having to go get him from there.
It might have been, here's the only problem with that. It might have been NC-17 footage.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been Carmen Electra.
Still, like, how entertaining would that have been? I'm actually going to watch. I've never seen the Rodman, is it the 30 for 30 thing?
Yeah.
I'm literally watching that tonight. Like, I've never seen it, need to.
I heard it was really good. Here's what's crazy.
Jordan didn't go to Vegas, though.
I thought he went to Vegas.
No. So CBS Sports did a whole small story on it, and it came out this morning. And basically, Jordan heard Rodman was back in town and hadn't come.
Okay. So that's what Skip Bayless was talking about today.
Yeah. Jordan didn't go to Vegas to find him. Rodman was in Chicago. He was just like, "Oh, this fool is back, and he ain't at practice." And at the time, the article says he lived across the street from the United Center. So MJ is like, "Y'all ain't go get him? All right, I'll be back." Like hold
I love that.
You know?
Yeah, he walks in a naked Carmen Electra, Coke on the table.
Here's what tripped me out the most. And if anybody follows me on Twitter, so my man he's in Vegas, he's chugging a freaking beer, and he hops on the bike and just rides off after chugging a beer. He chugs I think it was a Coors Light, and he just drives off. Like, wait a second.
And Carmen Electra still looks the same, which was crazy.
So good. She looks so good.
Oh yeah.
No, I think she looks better now. Like, honestly, she was hot back then, but now she's like, "Oh, okay, I see what you did."
I know, because some of the trends and stuff back then were wild too. Like, even like people having non-existent eyebrows didn't look good for anyone. But yeah, no, she looked great.
Pete, what did you think?
I mean, to me, I liked it, but I thought it was the weakest of the 3 so far, or 4 so far, as far as overall, because it mostly focused on Dennis rather than, for the most part of the episode. I know we got into the Cavs series and the shot over Craig Elo. That was more interesting to me than going into Rodman, just because I knew
fuck
30
that
for 30.
bullshit.
Yeah, seeing the 30 for 30, already, infatuated with Carmen Electra since I was a kid. Like, I already knew that aspect of it, as far as her and Rodman and all that.
Right.
So I didn't learn a lot there, but, still good overall, because anything that we can get that touches on that era is good to me. So
Nice. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it, especially when talking about the shot and Ron Harper was pissed, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that later. But so we get out, and I forgot who I saw it on. Someone a while back was talking about the 97-98 season, the whole LeBron Jordan debate. And it's like, well, Scottie missed 38 games, and we see they started out 8-7. They ended up 24-11 without Scottie, but Dennis, we saw he wasn't with it. So they start out 8-7, and then we see the scene, or Mike talks about it, like Dennis knocks on his door, and he's like, man, Dennis has never come and talked to me. And he didn't apologize or nothing, but Mike knew. It was like Dennis's way of apologizing.
Well, you got to talk about the scene. The scene is, it's Scottie is out, it's MJ on the court, and Rodman gets ejected.
Yeah.
And he says it point blank. He's like, Dennis fucked up. And Dennis knew he fucked up because I needed him. We don't have Scottie. Like, our margin of error is low. And I think when you go back and watch episode 2, where MJ is talking about my voice has to be louder, because if people see a chink in our armor, they're going to start coming at us. They see no Scottie. They're like, oh, okay, we can beat these guys. And you see, like, that in episode 2, when Cleveland beats the Bulls, they're celebrating like they won the series. And it was like, Cleveland was garbage at that time, but beating the Bulls was like a championship, the same way like beating Golden State was the past couple years. Like, people like, oh, you hurt? Oh, you're down a man? They're sitting here licking their chops like, we about to go to town on y'all tonight.
Allana, what did you think of all that stuff with Dennis going to Mike's room and he gets tossed and he knows he screwed up?
I mean, I just think it shows that, like, kind of to their point, he was wilding off the court and he lived life the way he did, but like he did care. And I think that obviously the heart for the game and his teammates like came first. I also think it kind of speaks to Jordan's mentality of like that he didn't need him to actually say I'm sorry, to know that, like there was an understanding between them. And the fact that he, didn't fuck up again moving forward, I feel like that speaks volumes too. So I'm not actually, I think a lot of people were surprised when the Bulls, took a chance on him, but it was like, to their point, it was clear that on the court, that's what came first, which I feel like is a huge difference between a lot of guys nowadays. Like, I feel like a lot of the guys that kind of clown off the court end up doing so on the court too, and it translates that way. But I feel like Rodman could really separate kind of like his persona of like who he really was when he wasn't playing, if that makes sense.
He was like two different people.
Yeah.
There was basketball Dennis, and then there was off the court Dennis.
But the thing about it is they were professionals. They came to work, they clocked in, they went to work, they clocked out. All right, I'm taking this jersey off. Let's go. Let's get crazy, in their own ways.
But I think even him talking about like all the drama off the court showed that he was not interested in that at all. Like, and I think a lot of people kind of mistook what he was doing for like the shock value. Like, that was just him. Like, he was literally being himself. He wasn't doing that for a certain reason. I feel like he actually hated all the distractions. Yeah. So I feel like that was, and again, I haven't seen the 30 for 30 and I'm going to watch it tonight, but I feel like that was probably something that people didn't really like understand until this came out, that like he did not want any of the bullshit. That was just like him.
Yeah, he was actually he's still to this day, he's a really shy guy. He's to himself, and he thrives in those environments where he feels like it's a family and there's structure. And when he gets out of that, he's like, I don't care. Like, I heard a story where Eddie Vedder came to visit Rodman in the locker room during this era, and Rodman's like, it's probably the same story. And Eddie's like, all right, let's go to Vegas. And he's like, Dennis, you got a game tomorrow. We can't go to Vegas. And he's like, no, man, we're going to go to Vegas, see this Jane's Addiction show, going to be in the mosh pit and everything. And Dennis is so charming. They go to Vegas, and they're in the middle of the mosh pit. And Dennis is like, this is so relaxing, isn't it? And it's like, it was like at that moment, Eddie Vedder put it together. Like, Rodman's life is so full throttle that sitting in a mosh pit is like his meditation. And then he said he flew back and the next night had like 25 rebounds or something. And it's like, you don't, like, Allana's point is accurate. A lot of guys can go out and party, and then the next night they're garbage.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
James Harden.
Yeah, making it rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I send you that? Some guy did a chart where it was like James Harden's efficiency by strip club.
I saw something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, in Utah, he's terrible because apparently in Utah, they got the best strip clubs in America or something. And in Atlanta, he's trash.
Mhm.
So, yeah, like, those guys were professionals. Like,
But see, I think with Dennis though, people don't realize how much time he spent on film study.
Mhm.
Just studying his opponents. You know, he said it in the doc. I know which way the ball's coming off when Michael shoots, when Larry Bird shoots, you know, anybody Magic shoots. You know, for him to sit there and study every single move of not just the stars, but the role players and knowing where the ball is going to be. That's how he was so effective. And to turn it on and turn it off, that's how he gets so much respect, you know, across the league. It's just that, you know, he was so introverted as far as, you know, being shy off the court, even doing the setting it up with the director of The Last Dance. It's like he's, you know, 2 hours late to the meeting. He shows up. He's hungover. He wants coffee and he wants a Subway sandwich. Yeah, like I want this before I'm even going to do anything.
Life's little demands, though, you know.
Right. And he's like, shit, if that's all that Dennis Rodman wants, we can accommodate that. And he's like, I'll give you 30 minutes of my time. You know, Rodman eats a sandwich and he's like, all right, you know, let's talk. 3 hours later, they're still talking. You know, so it's
you
just
know,
ability.
like no one told him to do it like that. You know, no one's out there like study these players and like I feel like for the most part, even defensive powerhouses, they lock in on what they're good at, but they don't necessarily like, you know, go ahead and study their opponents and switch that up based on, and to your point, not even the stars, but just like the bench guys for all these teams. Like he took that upon himself to do that. So I feel like that only further shows that, you know, like he was super locked in when it came to the game, and whatever else happened had no consequence on that.
Right.
You know, that's really special. He took that upon himself. He's like, I got to get better. And he identified, he's like, what are my strengths? I can defend and I can rebound. So I'm going to be the best at that. And he was. For 7 straight seasons, he led the league in rebounds at 6'7".
The thing about it is coming out of college, he was a scorer too. Then he realized on the Bad Boys Pistons, all right, well, my role is not going to be to score because I'm never going to get the ball. What can I do to fit into this team?
Exactly.
And he asked not only Chuck Daly, but members of the team, look, where can I fit in to make a difference to have us win? Not just, you know, for himself to look good, but for us to win.
Yeah.
And that's so forgotten across the league now because everybody's buddy, and it's like, let's team up. Oh, we're on a, you know, crappy team. You know, oh, well, you know, we're buddies, we're good, you know, and it's like that competitive edge is gone.
Well, plus ego didn't get in the way because he could have very well stepped in and been like, no, I you know, came out as I'm going to be a scorer here too. But instead he figured out his new role and developed that way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know what stood out to me? So you remember, so he comes back to the first practice and Phil has him doing that running drill where, you know, everybody has to, whoever's leading, everybody in the back has to, you know. So Mike's like, he's making me fucking do this. So he's like, he tells everybody, you walk, just slow. Yeah. He said, man, Dennis comes charging around, and it took him 4 laps to catch up to Dennis.
Yeah. And that's the other
thing. This
thing.
man was hungover. He hadn't practiced in probably a week. He was probably high on drugs, all kind of shit. And here's Dennis.
Like a deer.
Yeah. He never got tired.
He never got tired. Like, I don't know. I saw a Kevin Garnett interview a few weeks ago, and he was like, we're playing the Bulls in Minnesota. The game is over. Oh, no. Dennis kicks the cameraman, gets kicked out. I'm walking out of my locker room, and I'm like, hey, who's working out in the team weight room? And they're like, oh, that's Dennis. And he goes in there, and Dennis is on the Stairmaster. After getting kicked out of the game, probably having 10, 15 rebounds and just going. But he would do that after every game unless he was going out to party. Like, like he just had this mentality. He never wanted to go back to being homeless or where he was
Right.
at that stage of his life that got him his like. People forget, like he came from Dallas, from being homeless, working at the airport, living on a farm, to getting a scholarship to, like, I don't even think that was a D1 school. Was it D2?
No, it was the NAIA.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was
Southeast Oklahoma.
Yeah, but it was like low on the
Right.
Like you have to Google that school right now. And Google would be like,
he averaged 26 and 16. So,
yeah, he averaged 27 points.
Yeah.
And here's what's interesting, leading that we know, like, we saw his mom, she kicked him out of the house. He goes to the NAI school, puts up the numbers, but then he goes to the Pistons, and they trade him to San Antonio. And mind you, at this time, I believe Pop was the GM, right, Pete?
Yeah,
And they could not handle him. So
that's why Jack Haley was there.
Yeah, Jack Haley was. Yeah, that was his buddy, his babysitter, basically. So they traded him to the Bulls, and we see what's happened there. But it's just crazy to think, because we all see how great Pop is at managing these egos, and even though he was still the GM, he wanted nothing to do with Dennis.
Right. Well, yeah, it was a thing where, and they touch on it on the 30 for 30 on Dennis. The structure of the Spurs at that time, they were like really religious, like they would have Bible study afterwards. And I think Rodman at one point said that David Robinson looked at him and was like, "I think you're the devil sent here
he did.
by God. Like, you're a test from God, Dennis." And it's like, you're never going to win when your best players are at odds. And that's why it was perfect for him to work in Chicago, because they were professionals, and Phil was going to give you that space. Phil was going to be like, "Hey, do what you need to do, because I can count on you doing the game." And that kind of accountability, Pop wasn't Pop yet. Like, he wasn't even coaching the team yet. He was just with the organization, Pop doesn't become really until like 2000, 2001, after they get that first chip.
The thing about it, though, like with David Robinson, he was not the alpha male. So he wasn't going to speak up and be able to say, "All right, fuck you, Dennis, sit down, shut up, this is my team." He wasn't like that. So you had, kind of the, behind your back, like, let's try to maintain them, but it's not working. What do we do here? And they actually helped Dennis by, when the trade happened, Jack Haley, ended up in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had that budding relationship. And that's what kind of started things off in Chicago so well for them, because he already had that, bond with Haley. And then, of course, you got Jordan, who's not going to put up with that. But
also, I think Phil Jackson just let him be him. I mean, as long as he didn't disrupt anything on the court, which I feel like, especially during that time, I feel like now all the antics and whatever in the league, more coaches are, a little bit more used to that. But I feel like back then that's not. I mean, Rodman was like on a completely his own, and Phil Jackson never for a second tried to kind of diminish him.
Right.
And it's absolutely true. And Dennis makes a point. Actually, not even Dennis. I think it was John Sally who was like, Dennis, he didn't respect a whole lot of NBA players. He didn't admire a whole lot of them, but he admired and respected MJ, and he would call a lot of players like fakers, phonies. That was his word. Like, if you were just all show, all smoke and mirrors, you were a phony. Like, there's footage, and I think it's in either episode 5 or 6, where Jordan is shooting Space Jam, and Dennis is in the Jordan Dome that they built on the Warner lot, working out and playing those pickup games. Like he worshipped the ground Michael Jordan walked on. I think that's really downplayed, and so he didn't want to let Michael Jordan down, because he knew the punishment we gave him when we were the bad boys, he would still get up. He would never get angry. He would still come back and attack. And it's like, you couldn't break that spirit, so you had to admire it.
And then the other side of things, I think, too, with Rodman, he knew that was his last chance, because no team wanted it.
Yeah.
And so he had to go to the Bulls, and he had to find a way to fit in and make it work. So
that was actually Pump's remark when they traded Rodman, was like, "Yeah, we finally found somebody that would take him." And it's like,
right.
You mean to tell me
and all it took was fucking Will Purdue.
Yeah. Will Purdue.
Exactly. For maybe one of the all-time 5 greatest defensive players in the history of the league, Will Purdue.
Oh, it's crazy.
No, keep going. You're good.
It's like the last episode when they were like Pippen was traded on draft day. I had to Google who Pippen was drafted for because we don't really remember him. And I was like, Odin Polynice and a pick?
Yeah.
Like no. One of the greatest small forwards in NBA history was traded for Odin Polynice and a draft pick.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, like... And it looked like Seattle was fleecing the Bulls at the time. It was like, oh, we getting a big man and a pick? Cool.
And you're gonna take this dude from an NAIA school in Central Arkansas?
Yeah.
Because that's what's crazy. Pippen and Dennis both played in NAIA schools.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now no, go. You're good.
And they're both in the Hall of Fame. Like and I love the way the doc is evolving. Because it's showing all the sides of Jerry Krause, like when he's dancing, and I know it's in episode 4, but when he's dancing on the plane.
Hey, not only was he dancing, he had that cup in his hand.
He had the lean.
He had that. Yeah, he had that double cup love. And he was like, "Go, Jerry!" And it was like, "All right, Jerry, sit your ass down. You done had too much."
Yeah, Pippen's like, "Sit down, Jerry."
But it shows how important like scouting is. Like we see it even to this day. We know which teams scout and know their players inside and out. Like the run that the Spurs had up until probably Kawhi and maybe like Danny Green and whatnot was amazing because they got guys literally from nowhere.
The Miami Heat.
Where's the part where I talk about Pat?
The Miami Heat. I was going there. I was going to Miami. Yeah, I was going to Miami there because we got Duncan Robinson and Kendrick Nunn and Bam and I had to go there. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm on top of it. When Mike mentioned that, the first thing I thought, Miami Heat. I got you.
And that's the exact reason why those teams are always successful because of the person they have sitting in the boardroom. Like when I saw Jimmy Butler going to Miami with Pat Riley, I was like, if I've ever seen a marriage that's gonna work, like that's perfect.
Right.
Like,
and I was against that one for so long. I did
Shame on you.
I will fully admit, I was like, listen, and like his attitude is trash. But then
his attitude's not trash though.
No, but the thing is, like, I feel like him and Wade formed such a good bond too. Clearly, like it was kind of the next step in his career, and I'm fully about it now.
Yeah.
Oh, it was because Wade was like, hey, you know who you should play for? I know a guy. Here's his number. But that's what we get to see with Krause. Like, as much as he's vilified in this, and rightfully so for the statements he's made publicly, he made some great moves. The one thing nobody can dispute, he didn't draft Jordan. He came the year after. But the rest of that team, getting Scotty, getting Horace, making a trade for Oakley, to Cartwright, bringing in bench players, drafting BJ, and pulling the trigger on Rodman later. Like, he made some great decisions. It's just, in the end, his success was his own undoing. Was like, I want all this credit. But you see him building his team, and it's like, man, he made some, even with the coaches, like identifying Tex Winter and finding Phil Jackson in the CBA.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was great at the business side of things. He was just his ego.
A short man ego.
Yeah, just people.
Yes. I want to get into the bad boys just a little, and then the shot over Craig Elo and all that. But I got to say this: so we finally get to see Bill Cartwright talk.
Oh,
this man has not aged in 30 years, right?
So many people.
But he looks like he was 70 30 years ago. That's the problem. And then he looks 70 30 years ago.
When he was young.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But then you have BJ Armstrong, who's the complete opposite. He hasn't aged one day.
Bill Cartwright is the Morgan Freeman of 90s basketball.
Yes.
When we learned about Bill Cartwright, he looks old. Like, go back and look at his rookie basketball cards. He looks 45.
Yeah, I figured
Shit, you
those
got back
Bulls
then.
teams-
Now you're laughing at everyone.
yeah.
I mean,
You know, I saw a couple comments on. I saw a couple comments on Twitter. People didn't know, like when he started talking for the interview, they were like, "That's the first time I've ever heard Bill Cartwright talk." I was like, "What?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Allana, like you've seen him talk before. You being in Chicago, like the coach of the damn Bulls. How have people not heard him talk before?
Yeah, he tried to run the triangle, and I figured he would have aged significantly. You know, the 01, 02, 02, 03, you know, that range with Curry and all that.
You got to give him credit. I mean, even though he looked 70 30 years ago, he still looks 70. So
There you go.
know, hey, you win some, you lose some. I guess you'll take that if you're. But let's go to the bad boys real quick because we finally got a glimpse of the Jordan rules. Brendan Malone, Mike Malone's father, I believe, finally broke down the Jordan rules. Pete, I know you enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, that was the best to me. That was the best part of the documentary because, like, think about it nowadays with the ticky-tack fouls, like the James Hardens and all that would not survive if they played then because the little like, oh, I fell down, like that's a foul or whatever. They wouldn't have made it. 90% of the NBA now would not have gone through what Jordan went through, getting hit in the air.
Everyone knew it was happening. Like it was not even a secret. It's years later.
Right.
Like, oh, yeah, looking back, he was definitely like picked on. It's like, no, that was a thing. Everyone was fine. And they just let him play through it.
Yeah, that was the style of play. Like I love that montage where you see like Dominique going up and getting hit. You see Doc Rivers getting pushed in the air. You see Bird getting pulled down. Like that was the way people played. Like people forget in the '84 finals when like McHale gets freaking clothesline.
Yeah.
McHale clotheslines. What's your boy with the glasses from
Kurt
the
Rambis?
Yeah, arguably the dirtiest play. Distant second to Tom Jonovic getting hit by Kermit Washington.
Yeah.
But that clothesline, that was how people played during those times. So I agree with Pete. Players from today, they would have to adapt. They would have to go in the weight room and be like, oh, okay, so I'm getting pushed down. The referees don't care. All right, I got to get the weight. I got to bulk up. And I got to anticipate versus like crying. And you see, like that was the beauty of it. Because even though it's them beating up people, it was a mental strategy of like, we're going to wear you down. We're going to break you. And when you start whining and complaining, we know we got you. Yep. And that's why they could beat the Bulls, because MJ was mentally tough, but he wasn't physically there yet. And then you see in like 90, MJ is swole up. He can do it, but it's just mentally the rest of the Bulls and the team as a whole wasn't ready.
And they showed that with Horace Grant.
Back then too.
Horace Grant wasn't ready. Scotty wasn't ready. John Paxson wasn't ready. Craig Hodges wasn't ready. The whole team just wasn't ready for that moment. Like, I cried watching that Game 7 when it happened. And I only watched it like a month.
Real quick, Mike. For those that don't know, Mike Skills is from Chicago.
I was born in Chicago. I grew up in Houston. So I was at a young age. All my siblings are older than me. We had to be Chicago fans. And I got into the Bulls like 88. And I remember that 90 season when we went to Game 7, I cried because it wasn't even close. Like the Bulls were in the game, but they weren't in the game. Like you go back and watch it, at some points it's like a 10-point game, 11-point game, 13-point game. But mentally, Detroit was just on another level, and the Bulls just weren't there yet. And it's beautiful to see because Jordan was under that scrutiny that like LeBron was under when he first went to Miami, and what KD was under when he was in OKC and before he went to Golden State, and Kyrie is under now and whatnot. It's just we didn't have the 24-hour sports news cycle to just regurgitate like, is LeBron going to do it? Why is KD so mentally? Like they were doing that on MJ.
They were.
Like, you go back and watch some of those games with Marv Albert, and he's like, Jordan looks to be struggling. It was like, Marv Albert giving it to MJ on the broadcast.
Mm-hmm. Now, Allana, I gotta ask. After all these years, in denial, the Jordan rules. What's that? What's that? What's that? Brendan Malone confirmed it was a real thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Again, I feel like, and this is the only time that I will ever say this, and I'm glad that I'm not older, so that I could have enjoyed all of that when it was happening. Because it's like, you can enjoy it now and you can take it in, but like it's not the same as it happening real time. But I mean, I think it was a different style of play. I also think that besides just the mental toughness, which I think is a huge thing, and that is a good reason why Detroit was able to kind of like wear down their opponent. I feel like athleticism was way more important back then. I feel like now you can just be a straight shooter, right? Like as long as your shot is wet, you're good. You don't necessarily have to know how to do everything or like
JJ Redick.
Yeah, but back then, I feel like especially once Detroit kind of like took the reins on that, if you weren't able to match up with that style of play, there was basically there's no point in you trying. There's no place for you in the league. And so kind of watching that, it does kind of make me sad that now it's like, not that I don't appreciate, a nice stroke, but it's not the same style of play.
Yeah,
that's definitely true.
It's not. And Pete definitely touched on it. Like to hear Brendan Malone and the team break down basically the strategy. It was chess moves. They were like, if he's at the elbow, if he's at the wing, force him to the elbow. Yeah,
force him to elbow. Yeah.
Force him left where he's less explosive than going right. Don't let him go baseline. Get him before he goes in the air. If he comes across the lane, hit him with a screen. Check him. Like when we were kids playing basketball, that's how we grew up. Our coaches would always tell them, like, hey, that guy's coming across the lane. Don't let him just walk across. Send a little message to him, make him think, and, stand there, catch him with an elbow, a hip check or something. But imagine the 5 players on the court all saying, we're going to do this to one guy.
Mm-hmm. And remember, at that time, there was really, for the first 3 years of Doug Collins, there was no triangle. Phil gets there in 90. There's the triangle, but I don't think Mike and the team had fully grasped everything of the triangle, what they wanted to do, what Tex Winters wanted to do, and so it was outstanding to see Brendan Malone finally break down, and Mike, outstanding job of saying what he said, because I was just going to go there, sending him to the elbow, making him go left. He gets in the air. Don't let him get in the air, because if he gets in the air, you're done.
And another thing they would do in that era, which I guess now, because we have so many reviews and whatnot, you can't really do. Like they would only call the first foul. Mm-hmm. So like if Jordan comes across the lane and gets hit by Dumars, Mahorn can come in and deliver a second shot. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like what big men do today when someone shoots a shot after they call the foul and they jump up and block. It's kind of to make you think like, okay, we're going to touch you next time you come in the lane.
Yeah, we're going to knock your ass to the fucking ground.
Yeah. These guys did their homework.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now we got to get to the Cavs for our final thing for episode 3. And everybody remembers the shot, right? But we finally get to hear like Ron Harper, who was part of the second three-peat Bulls. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, he wins 2 more with the Los Angeles Lakers with Phil and Kobe and Shaq and those guys. But finally, we know Elo was the one guarding Mike. But if we get to hear Ron say he's in the huddle, Lenny Wilkins is, he's like, I got Mike, let me get him, I got it. And then Lenny's like, no, we're gonna put Craig on it. Like, man, fuck that bullshit.
Honestly, when Ron Harper said, fuck that bullshit, man.
And we all know from the Chicago what a great elite defender he was.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And this was Ron Harper before the injuries in Cleveland.
Yeah, this is Ron Harper when he had the knees before the knee injuries, when he was jumping out. Like Ron Harper was the star of Game 2 of that series.
I still don't understand that decision. Like, why would you have him, not guard Jordan? Like, what was the purpose of that? Like, what are you gonna? I would rather live with Scotty taking the shot No offense to him, but then put it anywhere near MJ. That was just stupid on Lenny Wilkins. Then he has the nerve to just drop his head like, "Fuck, we lost." It's like, no shit, you lost.
You lost. Hey, they didn't really defend it that poorly. It was decently defended.
It was, however,
decent.
Yeah, but
decent's not what you wanted to be.
Yeah, like.
It could have been defended much worse.
You could have defended it worse. You can't give, consolation prizes. You can't give moral victories.
That's true, and I am against moral victories and consolation prizes and participation trophies, so shame on me.
I mean, they case in point, Elo, if Jordan misses the shot, Elo is the hero because up to that point he had an amazing
and remember the play before it was Craig Elo who got by Mike for the layup to give the Cavs the win. I did not remember that.
No, he didn't get by Mike. He got by Craig Hodges.
Yeah,
in the middle.
Okay,
he tried to block it and missed.
But
still, I did like what they touched about in Game 4. He had a chance to put it away. And MJ missed the free throws in regulation, and then they lost in overtime. Like, that's really important because set up the fact that to this point the Bulls were known for blowing these leads. They were known for choking, and it was like, Mike is great, but you can't win. This team is
important, though. Exactly what they were saying about LeBron for a while, right? So it's the exact same scrutiny.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. Imagine
back off of him.
Imagine, Allana. Imagine in this era if they see Mike miss those free throws, what social media would have done to him, especially Bayless, who goes after LeBron. I'm waiting for Skip. I didn't watch everything today, but I'll go back to the clips. I wonder if Shannon Sharp brought that up to Skip.
Oh yeah, we honestly have to think about it in that context of. LeBron is one of those players, is the Jordan of his era. So imagine taking the now and putting it then. Imagine having the Instagram and Mike missed the free throw. He's ball hogging. He should have passed it to Paxson. Paxson is opening.
Taken away so much from his game, though. I mean, obviously undisputed, right? He was, but like all that negativity would have just completely ruined that entire era. Like,
oh yeah,
we were blessed not to have the negativity back then.
Without a doubt.
Well, great job, everybody, because that pretty much ends it for episode 3. I'm going to switch over. We got some more guests coming on. But, Allana, let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Allana Tachauer on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll be back here Monday, hopefully. So
yes, you'll be back. Yes, absolutely. Mike Skills, your turn. Where can everybody find you?
Mike Skills, MIC Skills on all platforms. You can hit me there, and I hope to be back for I'm down for part 4.
Oh yeah, you'll be back. We'll get you back definitely. All right, Pete. I would tell you to talk about yourself, but you're going to be back for part 2 here, so I don't need it. But what we're going to do real quick, we're going to switch this over. We got a couple more. We got like 4 more guests coming on. So let me switch this over real quick, and then we will jump right into episode 4. There we go. All right.
So episode 4, everybody can see on the screen. We've got Byron back. We've got Sean and Mike Morris, and we've got Charlie Jones as well. So fellas, jumping into episode 4. It kind of touched on a little bit of Dennis Rodman, Carmen Electra. I think everybody here on the panel agrees. You wouldn't be turning down Carmen Electra if she's. So going past that, it dove into Phil Jackson and kind of his backstory, which I kind of touched on in the first 2 episodes with the, working in the CBA, kind of working his way back in under Stan Albeck as an assistant. But I didn't really know. I knew later in life with the Lakers, like the whole Montana thing and all that, but I didn't know his, philosophical background and kind of what he was into. Do you think that kind of style of management would have kind of gone over well with today's players? Pretty much anybody can answer, whoever wants to take.
Somebody asked me if I thought that he could coach today.
Mm-hmm.
And, I say no because he's, mid-70s. But,
But say you take him back from his age, what he was with the Bulls starting. Do you think he could coach today if he was the same age?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Fair enough there. Go ahead.
Go ahead. As long as he's got a Kobe Bryant and a Michael Jordan on his team, he's good. We don't know. I mean, we've never seen Phil without a swirly, godly talent on his team. So, I mean, I'm sure he could. He'd be just without LeBron or whoever. He'd just be another coach to me. I don't know. I mean, he had everything in place. Phil's a great, great coach, and he put everything together. That's why he is what he is. But if he was coaching somebody other than Kobe and Michael, I don't know. It's up in the air to me.
I don't know because, like they said on the first part, the biggest argument I guess amongst my peers is who's the GOAT coach out of Popovich and Phil Jackson. And like my little brother, I think Matt and Pete will say Popovich, but he couldn't control. Phil Jackson is excellent at managing personalities and managing egos,
Yeah.
So I think and Steve Kerr has taken a lot from him, from both of them, both of those great coaches, but more so Phil Jackson because he was able to win, you know what I mean, with the Warriors. And there was there's a lot of personalities there, the egos on that team.
I think it goes back to the same like the LeBron criticism. Oh, LeBron was in the East. Well, I mean, he was in the East, so it wasn't his fault that he was in the East. He wasn't supposed to lose on purpose. So it's not Phil Jackson's fault that he had Jordan and Kobe. We never saw him without him. So it's hard to say what he would have done without him because that's all he ever had. So I mean, I'm a Popovich fan, so I'm always going to go with Pop.
Yeah, and you can say the same about what if Pop didn't have Duncan,
Right, like right now.
But the Lakers didn't win until Phil came there. I mean, with Shaq and Kobe, you're supposed to be able to win. You know what I mean? And they didn't win until Phil Jackson got there. And
that's ego management right there.
Well, he had a winning record when Jordan retired in '93 with the Bulls. So.
And things would have went a little different there. What was it? The Charles Smith foul that wasn't a foul or whatever. Maybe the Bulls win that series. You know what I mean?
They were just
we don't know, but it's a fair thing to bring up. But they may still have lost.
Right.
That's true.
So they bring Phil in. He's got Tex Winter as his guy, the orchestrator of the triangle offense. It kind of goes away from Doug Collins. And Doug Collins said that he knew pretty much, Phil was going to come replace him. And,
didn't he say, I had a feeling Phil was going to be the next coach?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that.
It's going to be the next coach.
The style goes from taking the ball out of MJ's hands to swinging the ball around. MJ kind of doesn't really adopt that philosophy right away. How do you think if something like that was to happen with a radical coaching change, style of play for a team, how do you think that kind of goes over in today's society?
I feel like players just have to choose whether they want to be that guy, make all this money, or win. Not everybody gets to choose. Like, I can make $100 million and get the chip. That was the big thing for me with Phil's first job with the Bulls, and when he went to the Lakers, you got egos, but at the same time, guys that were all about winning, about getting to that next level. As Mike, he's MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star Game MVP, first team, made the Eastern Conference Finals. To pull that trigger, you got to hope that he buys in. And if he doesn't buy in, it implodes. It gets worse. You go back to square one and trying to get somebody like Doug Collins back. When he got to L.A., it was the same thing. Kobe wanted to win, Shaq wanted to win, so they put all that other shit aside. Like, oh, Shaq's got to get 30 and 15, and Kobe's turning into a new star. Now they're buying into a triangle that worked in Chicago because you see Jordan had it. You try that today. Like I was talking about this earlier with somebody else. I think it was Sean too. If you try and put LeBron in that kind of situation and he doesn't buy in, you get tossed out like David Blatt when you're in first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're not,
you better come correct. Because I mean, with the way the NBA is set up right now, LeBron got more power than the GM,
anybody on the sideline,
coach, all of them. So that ain't
The only
gonna work.
the only one in the NBA with more power than LeBron is maybe Adam Silver. Maybe.
Nobody cares what Adam Silver thinks.
Shit,
LeBron is making those phone calls.
LeBron may have the most power of anybody in league history.
Yes. And Adam Silver got a little juice for actually, signing off on this documentary. So he got a couple more points with this one.
And he got rid of Donald Sterling.
Oh, yeah.
We got to give him that.
He's a good commissioner.
Yeah. Best in leagues, best in sports.
It's crazy because I remember the Bulls teams, when they had Curry and Jamal Crawford at the beginning, like when Bill Cartwright was the coach, and people were like, the triangle doesn't work anymore. The triangle doesn't work. And then you get Phil coming back to, with the Lakers. I'm like, you're watching Phil Jackson and the Lakers run it. It's just the Bulls are too young and the style of play that they have.
The triangle works a lot better when you have Scotty and Mike and Kobe and Shaq.
Right.
The
Tyson,
Chandler,
two best players in the world.
Yeah.
It works. We tried to run the triangle in college, and man, I was so mad at my coach because
well, you're a scorer, so
no, but it doesn't matter because he won. I get the concept of it, but you can't run the triangle without Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Right. That's why nobody ever did it before.
Right. It kind of works. It's semi-working in Golden State because they have concepts of it there.
Yeah, they do concept of that.
You have to have.
You got.
You have to have that one guy. that can Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant, Michael. That's going to change the game.
And when they had KD, you had Steph and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green.
I think there's enough
shooting guard.
I think there's enough good players in the NBA that you can do it with teams, but players just don't buy.
We don't want
to. Devin Booker's good enough to run the triangle and be that Kobe type.
They have to
buy into it.
Because he can score at will. You know what I mean? It was someone like him.
You can ISO. Yeah, you can ISO Devin Booker on a small guard. You can't ISO everybody.
Yeah, they went away from it last year with him with the ball in his hands.
What's crazy?
It's so different that they bought into the coach, and you see Jordan on the film staring at Phil Jackson in the eyes every single time he's talking, and you just don't. That's just it's so different now.
And remember when they first introduced the triangle to Michael, it was like, you're not going to lead the league in scoring anymore. That wasn't true. He still led the league in scoring, and we saw Kobe do it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can still be, instead of averaging 37, now you're going to average 31 and still lead the league, right?
I mean, if you're a good shooter, if you can score like how they can score, the triangle you will still produce large numbers within that offense. You know what I mean? Like, I think that
it works, but you have to have
the
Kobe, Jordan. You got to have a Devin Booker, and every team in the NBA has that.
No,
or it doesn't work. If you don't have 5 people on your team that is willing to sacrifice a little bit of something of their game, not gonna work.
No,
and the big sacrifice got to come from at the top.
I wasn't trying to do that. No,
you were already sacrificing that HBU, huh? So we're gonna.
I mean, we had a bunch of guys that wanted to jack shots and that were coming from different places and could do different things. But our skill set was not that.
Aaron Falls.
Yeah, we could. And if y'all came to our open gyms, like we had TJ Ford in the open gyms, we had your boy from Elsick in the we had everybody coming to HBU to hoop in the summertime.
Hey, Carlos going up there?
Carlos came. He was giving out buckets. He was shooting pull-ups from like half court.
You know what's crazy about him? Man, he'll be out of shape getting buckets on you.
Oh yeah, he was definitely out of shape. He was a little round, but he can still cross. He can do everything. If you don't have those guys, you can't run the triangle. And you got to have you got to have a ball handler. You got to have people that can pass. We weren't trying to pass.
It's crazy. The triangle utilizes puts everybody in a position to be successful. but you buy into it, and you like everybody's strengths. Like, look what it did for Steve Kerr, even Tony Kukoc. Like, imagine Tony Kukoc in today's game. Holy shit!
Oh man,
man. And I think
Tony
part
Kukoc
about
is
today's
a little
game.
overrated.
You think Kukoc is overrated a little bit?
I mean, he's a good player, but I would like to see him outside of that system. Is he a basketball player?
He did not. He was nice with
loose.
the little run with the Hawks with Milwaukee. He was all right.
Okay.
He
won how many games?
Right away. Remember, he played. He got.
We never heard of Tony Kukoc after Jordan let him go. After he left Jordan, I never heard of him.
He was getting loose in Philly a little bit.
Yeah, he was doing a little something. He wasn't doing the level with the Bulls, but he wasn't a scrub.
He wasn't dark.
I'm not saying he was a scrub. I'm just saying he was overrated.
No, I think his best years were probably overseas. You know what I mean?
Before Jordan came back, I'll give him that. When he hit that buzzer beater against the Knicks when Scotty didn't want to play. That was like prime Tony.
That was karma getting Scottie Pippen back.
Right,
for not
right
making the game.
Point.
Speaking of Scotty, so you had the migraine game, Eastern Conference Finals Game 7. How would that go today? If you sat there and said, I got a migraine, I can't play, and you in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, do you think with the way social media is today, do you think that flies, or do you think that, Scotty just gets to the point where he gets flamed so bad, he don't even want to play anymore?
The good thing about Scotty is he actually tried to play.
Yeah.
I think he would have got some points because he actually – it's not like – a lot of people make it seem like he got a migraine and he didn't play at all. He was out there trying to give everything he had. LeBron, we were watching the LeBron cramp game the other day.
The cramp game?
He got killed for that game because he didn't come back in.
Right. He didn't drink enough pickle juice.
It wasn't because he caught a cramp. It was because he caught a cramp and was just sitting there watching his team play. If you try,
that's that Powerade.
Yeah. I heard that if you take Midol, it helps with those cramps.
Hey, that was the same time when Gatorade put out that article like, hey, our player didn't catch cramps when Dwayne Wade was sponsored by Gatorade.
Gatorade is petty as hell.
That mess was hilarious.
Those menstrual cramps are, I hear they're really bad.
Come on, man.
So you got the Bulls and Pistons. You got that whole rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Horace Grant coming on. Highlight of the episode for me, straight up bitches. They basically walk off the court. Bill Laimbeer comes to Isaiah Thomas, says, hey, we're not shaking their hands tonight. Let's go. Same thing, happened. People don't really remember, but the Celtics did
Boston.
It to,
the Pistons.
Yeah, the Pistons. And then it also happened, the Rockets did it, was it the year before when they lost to the Celtics? They walked off. Ralph Sampson and all that. So it kind of hit a trend. So Isaiah's like, all right, this is a trend that happened, whatever. If it, if I would have known then what I know now, I don't think I would have done it. What would you have done if you were the Bulls and you saw that? Would you have let it slide, or would it, how would you have approached that?
It was the same thing that they did. They just look at them like they some sore losers, call them some bitches, straight up. Horace Grant got it right, but Horace Grant saying it now because he's still kind of swollen. Take any of them dudes right now.
Yeah, I want to know what Horace. If Horace could be the star of this whole thing, if we get some insight, if he's going to be real, let's hear about the Bulls time and when you went to Orlando. I want to know this stuff.
Man, he ain't gonna do that. That would be hilarious, though.
Yeah, it would.
He'd be the star of the documentary if he did that.
He took that.
MJ's not gonna let him do that.
Yeah, right. Nah, they too cool for that.
Cut that out real quick.
Yeah. Easy. Control that footage.
You're gonna nix that.
Like
that's gonna stay on the cutting room floor.
This ain't about Orlando. We talking about the Bulls right here. This is my issue. That ain't gonna happen.
Right.
But I feel like more than just the Bulls feel that way. Just there ain't a whole lot of people that played in that era that'd be like, all right, yeah, we cool with the Pistons, except for like when dudes left.
Nobody.
Like Rick Mahorn was cool when he came to New Jersey, but before that, it was fuck Rick. Rick can go on about his business.
Same. They had James Edwards came over, and
James Edwards and Sally both came to the Bulls.
To the Bulls.
Right. Yeah. So it kind of smoothed for them, but it still took a little bit from there.
Told him it was business.
Man,
Yeah.
you saw Mike's reaction. Mike's reaction still is basically fuck Isaiah, fuck Zeke.
Oh yeah, and that leads me
No,
into
that's
the
not
whole
necessarily
dream team.
true. That's not
Mhm.
necessarily true
That's
because
what Mike said in the damn documentary.
But look at what Chris Broussard did the interview with Isaiah last week, and he said, him and Mike have gone out, they've had dinner, like they've talked, and he said he's never heard Mike say anything like that was disrespectful. He said he's pretty much a straight shooter. He's gonna say how he feels.
Right.
He said that you can't convince me that at that time, he said he's had years to think
That's fair.
about it.
Okay, that's fair.
You can't convince me that at that time he wasn't a jerk and that wasn't intentional.
No, he wasn't an asshole. That was his words.
But back to what Pete
Mhm.
said, you got to put these things in context. Like that Celtics rivalry that they had with them, you got to look at what happened leading up to them. Like Larry Bird said, to this day he can't stand Bill Laimbeer. He said because you would jump up and shoot, and he would slide his foot underneath you, so you would land on it and twist your ankle. And he's like, every time they played them, Robert Parrish had a twisted ankle, and he said Laimbeer did it to him, and he did it back, and he never did it again. Then you gotta remember the body slam. They literally body slammed him. Laimbeer body slammed Bird in the game. You know what I'm saying? Then remember the Robert Parrish gave him the 3-piece, hold the biscuit. You have to put these things into context. It wasn't like they were sore losers because they already had 3 rings. It was like these guys were really and Bird played injured his whole career. So that's why I still got him up there, top 5, because he was just that good. You put it into context. It's like these guys were really trying to hurt us. And you got to remember, in the 80s, if you tore your ACL, it was a career-ending injury. It wasn't like today they patch you right back. Like Klay Thompson,
better than you were before.
right? Klay Thompson gonna come back looking like God knows what. You know what I mean? We won't even remember that he tore his ACL. So, with the Pistons, like what Isaiah saying, like, oh, they did it to us, and that was the attitude back then. Nah, I don't know about that one.
That's fair.
He created the attitude and was the ringleader of, hey man, you want to let him do that? Like it was all. I ain't gonna say it was all him, but he was the general out there.
Oh yeah,
He the one that's
absolutely.
signing off on all that. So everybody's gonna hate it.
Where were Mike's
Bad boy
teammates at in
mentality.
all this when they were beating him up?
Traded to
Like
New York.
nobody. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You don't think? Hey, you think half that shit is done
No
if
way.
Oakley's there? They
No,
won't
no
have that
way.
shit?
Oakley would have retaliated so quick.
That's what I mean.
Some
yeah.
of it happened while Oak was there, but
Not
they
to
just
that
made it
extent.
like
But notice what happened. I remember I think Mahorn took Jordan out, and Oakley was on him. Like Oakley
I
was.
saw that. Yeah.
You got to remember,
Mhm.
this. Like I'm gonna tell y'all something. I was at Mike's birthday party a few months. I ain't trying to flex, but I was there.
You flexing, it's all right.
Man, hey, let the people know. Give them what they want. Let them know, Byron. You're
To
somebody.
this day, they're like this. I mean,
yeah,
like
they still tight.
people, how close, like, and you see like Oakley slapping Pippen. Like I knew the background. He was really like a bodyguard for those guys. Like what I'm saying? Like he was ejected several times for taking up for Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? So, like there's no way in hell. And he even said he did an interview. It was really good. I can't remember who. It was like last summer, and he was just talking about the NBA today versus Dan. And he said the Pistons. He said that go back and watch the tape, they didn't try me. He said the only 2 guys on that whole team that could fight were Zeke and Joe Dumars. You know what I'm saying?
They were small.
He said Laimbeer couldn't fight. You got to remember.
Man, Mary ain't got no hands.
Charles Barkley
He didn't want no parts of that.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
You remember Charles Barkley caught him in a parking lot and put them hands on him. Like, people forget these things, man.
Mm.
Yeah. So going into, you had the whole rivalry with the Pistons. Jordan doesn't like Isaiah. The whole media story for years and years and years has been, oh, Jordan didn't want Isaiah on the dream team. When in actuality, Karl Malone and Karl Malone and Scottie Pippen were the only ones that came out and really kind of said it through the media.
Mm.
Do you think, kind of 2 parts to this? 1, do you think Isaiah should have been on that team? And 2, if you're Michael Jordan, should you have said something beforehand and kind of really got your feelings out there?
Mike didn't want Isaiah on that team. Plain and simple.
Nah.
But you can't be the face of the league and go out there and say that like you got something going on. But hey, Carl and Scotty said it. That was enough.
Mm-hmm.
And Scotty passed that message from Mike.
Right.
Truthfully,
Mike,
I'm cool with
Scotty and Carl, they took one for the team.
Hey, that wasn't a hard one to take. If Michael Jordan going back, you good.
Right.
Hey,
I think
go ahead, Sean.
Oh no, I think it's an easy decision because at that time, if you lived in Detroit, you liked Isaiah. If you lived anywhere outside of Michigan, you probably didn't like it.
That's fair.
Exactly.
I mean, unless you were a short basketball player that had to play point guard and needed to learn how to play basketball, you could watch Isaiah Thomas. But nobody else on that team was likable. Joe Dumars didn't really talk. Bill Laimbeer didn't really say much. Rick Mahorn just talked mess. And so it was that team that you loved to hate.
Really?
I mean, it's an easy decision. Nobody on that.
He was the most likable on that team. If any of them.
He just didn't say nothing.
Yeah,
he was
the guy in
quiet.
the room that when you hear somebody talking bad about your boy, he didn't say. I mean, you don't ever hear him really saying anything back to anybody.
Nope.
He the one that'll go back and tell the partners, like, "Hey man, he was talking about you real quick." But
it's
the
like-
most
it's weird
likable person on
because you
that team is Chuck Daly.
Could you imagine that happening now? Could you imagine the best point guard in the league, Steph Curry, not being invited to be on the Olympics? Not, sometimes they say I don't want to play. But then you imagine the best point guard in the NBA not being invited because LeBron James says I don't like him. That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
If that happened
I can see LeBron James.
all over the place.
I can see LeBron James saying he don't want Steph on the.
Yeah, I can see him being petty like that.
On Michael Jordan, he was not the only one. You got to remember, he wasn't the only victim to the bad boys. I mean,
it was everybody.
The entire league was victim to the bad boys.
But, I mean, everybody. Clyde Drexler hated them. Like Clyde and Scotty. There's an interview on YouTube. They both said they did not. And mainly Larry Bird really didn't want to play with him. Now you got to understand, like at this time, Bird and Magic are cool.
Well, Isaiah was talking bad about Larry, though. You got to remember that.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're right.
Exactly. That's why. Because remember, he said if he was black, then people would be
He
talking.
would just be another dude. Yep.
So that
Larry
have no feelings there. Then he said something about Magic.
That's a debate for another day.
Remember, he said Magic caught HIV from a man. He said something along those lines. Remember? So
and he out there kissing them before games, though.
Yeah, you're right there.
At the All-Star game in '92.
Yeah.
Exactly. So their relationship was already kind of strained too. Theirs, and then Mike said, like he said, he's like when they came to him, he wasn't even gonna play. He had a gold medal. Remember?
Yeah, so he was like, I need to know who else going to be there. It ain't just going to be a Michael Jordan show for the Olympics.
Right.
Hey, I'm going to say this. Should Isaiah Thomas have been on the team? Fuck yeah. In what world should he not have been on that team? Like, what point guard?
Talent-wise, he should have been, but ego and skill set for what they needed for that team, I don't think he fit.
They didn't really need a lot for that team. I mean, we could have been.
Like he should have been. I mean, he was the best player on a back-to-back championship team. One of the best 4 point guards in the history of the league. He can't be on that team.
But what are they doing? What were they doing in the Olympics though? John Stockton leading the league, career and assists and steals. They needed somebody that was going to dish the rock and steal the rock.
I think Isaiah would have done that in the Olympics though. Like, look at Mike. Mike wouldn't even need to score on the team. It was Charles.
Is it worth the hassle? You got to deal with.
I mean, I get it. Yeah. And nobody. Let's be honest. Nobody on that Olympic team, save maybe Christian Laettner, because he was in college, wanted him on that team.
Boy.
None of. Hey, let's be honest. None of them dudes wanted Isaiah on that team. They just didn't say it. It took Carl and Scotty to say it. None of them dudes wanted him there.
Oh, Mike was going to be like, all right, then I'm not going to play. As soon as that.
Yeah, exactly.
And David Stern wanted him there because they wanted to globalize the game. And you need
Mike had to be there. The dream team wouldn't have been the dream team without Mike.
Right.
He had to be there. He had to.
Yep.
So you get to the 91 finals. You got Bulls versus Lakers. You got Magic Johnson, who, obviously at that point is later in his career. he had never kind of seen the defense that Scottie Pippen was putting on him. And you got, another highlight for me that the biggest memory, even more so than Scottie and Magic, was the MJ dunk over Perkins. How huge do you think that series was for kind of shifting the landscape of the NBA?
Man, that was the crowning moment. Like, everybody knew MJ was MJ, but now it's the Bulls' time. You run 4 straight against the Lakers, who dominated the 80s, 7 championship appearances in 10 years. That was, hey, this is Mike's time. He's not just a really good athlete or a good scorer. He's a champ. And now let's take everything else. You got Scottie going off, Paxson being included, Horace Grant coming to his own. It was like, hey, we're about to start our run. That was the end of Magic's time. Pistons were no longer an option because they got swept out of the. It was like, hey, we have a new era of basketball, and y'all got to catch up.
And it was like everybody knew Michael Jordan was the best player on the planet, and the only thing you could say negative about him was he hadn't won. And then when they won, it was like, I mean, what is there left to say? He's the best that we've ever seen. He's the best we're ever going to see, and we're in trouble for a long time because he's still pretty young. So.
Now, do you think things would have been, because if you remember, LA gets past Portland because Cliff Robinson fumbles the ball out of bounds, and Portland to me was the better team, was the favorites all year to get there. If Portland ended up playing them 2 years later, but if Portland had played them,
they played them
next year. Sorry, next year. If they played them in 91, do you think it? I don't think they would have beaten the Bulls, but do you think it would have been a bigger test? Drexler and the Blazers going against the Bulls. Do you think things would have, been a little bit different as far as the narrative goes?
No, because he had to go through Magic to get it, to legitimize that whole, passing of the torch. Clyde, I think defensively the challenges would have been different, but he had to get it through Magic. It had to be that way.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. It would have been the same.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, it seems like it was almost destined for Michael Jordan in that moment, because you got the Lakers getting old, you got the Pistons getting old, and Jordan's coming into his zone that nobody else can get anywhere near Jordan. It was almost destined for the Bulls to beat the Lakers on that one. No matter what was happening. And look, if you look at the highlights or if you look at the tape, they were just on. There was no stopping Jordan. Pippen was locking everything down. Magic Johnson, the greatest point guard of all time, could barely get the ball up the court.
Yep.
Once the Lakers saw that, they were. If I'm on the bench and I'm looking at Scottie Pippen locking down Magic Johnson, what are you supposed to come in and do?
Right. You're like shell shocked at that point. You're like, damn,
Come on.
what? Yeah.
They ran them out in four straight.
Like, people say that the Pistons and the Lakers were old. Isaiah was 29, Magic was 30. Like, Magic, they were in their prime.
Right.
Well, the 3 best players on the Pistons were under 30. But Aguirre was older.
They've been in the league for a long time.
Yeah.
Playing bad boys Pistons basketball.
Right.
That takes a lot out of you.
Oh, it does.
And being a villain for so long, like LeBron said, it took LeBron 1 year being a villain to where he was like, all right, I can't do this no more. How long did they do it?
Like 4
the whole time. Yeah. In fairness, they had already been to 3 straight NBA finals before they
exactly
lost. In fairness to Detroit.
And it could have been 4 if not for that pass.
Yeah,
the Celtics, and let's think about that. You got 82 game seasons, however many series that went 7 games, and not just little 7 games, these tough 7 games.
Tough, yeah.
You got over 100 games a year. When some guys are just taking it easy, you keeping that level of excellence. People talk about LeBron going to 8 straight finals. Magic was in the conference finals or the finals almost the entire decade. And then into the 90s. Lost to the Blazers that in 89?
No, I think it was 90.
No, that was 90. Yeah, when the Pistons beat them. And then come back and make the finals in 91. he playing over 100 games every single year, and that's when preseason was still like 8 games in a month.
It's still a toll on your body now to go to 8 straight finals, but like going to 8 straight now would be like what, going to 4 or 5 back then because of the beating your body took, because of the physicality of the game. And I know some people are like, well, the 80s was just ugly to just beat you up. We don't want that now. That may be true, but it was still physical as hell.
Right.
Yeah. Find me that middle ground between like 97, 98, and 2004, 2005, where you can still touch people a little bit. You can play. Where
Because
they
remember, they took the hand check away in the early 2000s, I think, but they were still somewhat allowing it. Like they weren't fully like, we're going to call a foul every time you put your hand on someone.
Nah, the hand was gone long before then.
Nah,
it was supposed to be gone before then, but
it
the refs weren't.
The way they were refing the games, though, it was like around 06, 07, where you really were like, okay, you can't touch me anymore.
It's like your high school ball, where that first 2 weeks of the season, they calling everything tight, people fouling out, and then it just like, all right, we done now.
Now
back to how we play.
You see how it is now. I mean, James Harden will shoot 25 free throws in a game.
Yeah,
I'm sure Jordan shot a lot of free throws too.
But he went inside the 3 line though.
Yeah.
James don't have to go to the paint. James don't have to go to the paint to get to the free throw line.
Stop reaching.
Yeah,
whatever. Mike had to go get knocked to the floor to get free throws.
Hey, Sean, play defense.
Except in the late 90s.
Right? Yeah, you know, move your feet. Don't reach.
We talking to Sean about that?
Hey, I stayed in front of my guy, and I may have fouled out one time. That was it. But that goes the whole Jordan rules argument.
Charlie was the elite defensive player. Come on, Charlie. What do you got to say about all this? You being the defender.
I liked it back then. I like when you can touch people. It's too hard to guard somebody when you can't touch it. Now it just makes the game. It makes the game not as fun to watch now. You know, everybody's playing getting bailed out by the officials. Everybody's getting touched. Like Mike said, I like the medium area between around 95 and 2000. That's when it was a little bit of finesse and a little bit of toughness at the same time. That was when the last time the NBA was really, really fun.
So they flash forward. You get the little snippet of Jerry Krause on the plane. I thought that was funny. You know, basically the double cup of lean, and you know Scotty's still you know basically dogging him, telling him to sit down.
And that was 91 before it was beef.
Yeah. That was kind of crazy to see that, but you know they finally touch on a little bit of the Scott Burrell stuff. You know, Mike coming out saying basically. You're Dennis Rodman Jr. You're out all night. If you got just one woman, you wouldn't be going through this. You know, you're an alcoholic. You know, all this stuff. How do you think that goes over? Number one, if you're Scott Burrell, how do you react to Jordan now? And then number two, how do you think that plays out in the media?
What does Scott say?
That in there. They shouldn't put that in there because
they
could have had a wife, a baby, somebody, you know. Now they're looking back,
like, a baby, somebody.
One, you know what I'm saying? Like that's really fascinating. You know, I wouldn't have put that in there.
But you see who Scott was worried about, seeing his mom and his dad. He ain't worried about some old lady. Scott was living that life. Like 80%.
I think he even dropped the name in there. I thought I heard him say Amber somebody. didn't want to deal with that, but I mean, I think I thought it was kind of weird that he put him on the spot and he put it in there. Like if y'all are just on the plane talking, giving each other some BS or whatnot, I'm cool with that because that's what happens. You know, you're in there, you just talking mess to each other.
Right.
But I mean, for him to put it on the dock, there's millions of people watching it.
Right.
But I think the good thing about it almost made it seem like he was joking. If you watch it again,
right, you're right.
You can't really tell if Jordan's just kind of messing around with them or he's being.
Right, that's the thing. You know, it's like Black Dynamite laughing, man. He might be joking, but you can't really tell.
Well, the funniest part about all of it is throughout all this stuff, no one said anything bad about Michael Jordan.
It's
That
Michael Jordan. You're
Hey,
never going to hear
shows you
anybody
that-
say anything bad about it.
shows you the power Michael Jordan has.
Yeah, you ain't about to risk your
He
life
didn't
over
do,
Michael
he didn't
Jordan.
do drugs.
Right.
He didn't drink, even though Michael Jordan's eyes are as yellow as Sean's shirt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're
The
right.
whole time. They're not talking about him doing anything bad.
Right.
Nope.
Nah. Dennis
Yeah,
Dennis went to Las Vegas. Jordan didn't come. Jordan didn't come with him. All the stories I heard from the finals, Jordan was gambling somewhere.
Right.
Jordan
Oh,
was
yeah.
in Park City,
Oh yeah.
getting busy, and then would come back and do his thing.
Yep.
Nobody
He came
cares if
in,
you're
he came
producing.
in and saved Dennis Rodman. That's all he did. He said, came to
Da,
Las
da, da,
Vegas,
da.
he got Dennis Rodman, he left.
Yep.
Yeah, he
Hey,
did.
is that Carmen Electra behind that couch? Man, come on, dude. Let's go.
Oh yeah.
Like what?
And then you know,
I
like
don't know
Scott
nothing about the
Burrell,
guns and the girls and the drugs.
even the interviews he does now, like he just did a recent interview and he's defending Mike. Oh, Mike was the greatest for my career because he sparked that fire in me. And if you remember when it was my time to step up, I actually stepped up, and it was because of Mike.
Come on now.
So even he wouldn't say anything bad. Like
None of those people are going to say anything bad.
right,
Find
Russ
somebody
LaRue
who won't say something
wouldn't say
bad about the
anything
team.
bad
right.
about
You're right.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, you're right.
Nobody-
Just look at it in today's NBA.
They got-
Anybody that steps sideways at LeBron, like Mario Chalmers, or anybody like that, where are they? Where
Yeah,
have
Delonte
they been?
West.
What happened?
Can
What
you
happened
find
to
them?
Delonte West?
Look
Yeah,
at it, man.
yeah.
I
Delonte
ain't want to
West is
bring him
going
up.
crazy.
Yeah, Delonte West is sitting there
I
like
feel
getting
bad
beat
for
up in on the damn freeway, and
Hey, is it true what they said about Delonte West and LeBron's mom? Is that true?
No comment.
I'm leaving that alone. I ain't in there.
LeBron's people might be watching. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But you do know what happened to Delonte after that came out.
Yeah.
Ain't much been heard of Delonte since then.
No.
Right.
You don't do that.
All right. So last topic, fellas.
You don't do that.
Byron.
They end the episode kind of flashing to going throughout the regular season. Jazz, Bulls. Jazz sweep the season series. Going into the All-Star break, it's like, all right, so this is a potential finals matchup again. What's going to happen? And, Sean and Mike, we get a cameo from your dad pretty much last highlight of that game. They showed the N1
Yeah,
dunk.
that was kind of dope.
So that was pretty cool. What can you guys kind of share of the regular season, just kind of how that went down? What are some memories maybe, either just not only from that game, but just the regular season matchup?
From that game in particular, it was just like there was a stretch of time where he started all the white guys. Like every white dude on that team was in the starting lineup. John, Jeff, Ostertag was going to start. All right, 7 feet, but then you start Adam Keefe at your 3 spot.
Yeah,
it was just like no disrespect to Adam. Adam's a good dude. If we talking about volleyball, he might be better than Jeb Bush.
Was a scrub. I would say it. Scrub.
Greg
He
Fox.
shouldn't have been starting.
He was playing at the 3.
That's what I'm saying. At least
he was a 4. He was a 4 playing the 3.
They started him at the 3 instead of Brian or Shandon, somebody that could actually guard MJ.
Right.
Stuck him out there on Pippen and let Hornacek get dropped for 40 or whatever. But I'm like, at that time, I'm just like, dude, you can't start all these dudes. Ain't none of them starting the finals like that. And then you turn around and start Adam Keefe at the 5 in some games. Like, pick one. Don't let it be the 3. I need an athlete that's on guard.
Right.
I think Jerry
could have started right behind the trash can.
Damn.
Jerry was out there proving a point, man. He was trying to be that. Yeah, he was trying to be that dude that was like, yo, I'm in control. I'm going to go with the guys that's going to do exactly what I asked and make the least amount of mistakes. And I'm like, we're trying to win. You saw what happened the first half. They getting molly.
You can't play Michael Jordan and not and worry about making mistakes. You got to go out there and just play ball. You have grown up your whole life thinking about this whole situation. You're made it to the finals. You're playing against the best player to ever do it, and you want to play Adam Keefe. I mean, that was my biggest takeaway. Because it was just
last night.
I did, and like every time I see Adam Keefe, that's what I think. Like, why is he on the court in an NBA player uniform?
Damn.
Every NBA player in the league, they have skill they should be there. but Adam Keefe should have been like the 15th person on the bench. Like he's a guy that plays really hard, but
what did he do to you as a kid? He must have choked you or did something.
I just never really liked the way Adam Keefe played.
Hey, he was Greg Foster, right?
I like Greg Foster.
Yeah,
I love
Greg's cool.
Hey, Greg, he got after it too.
He got a little 15-footer. He's gonna shoot a 15-footer, and he's gonna rebound. That's all he's gonna do. Same thing with Antoine Carr.
He played hard.
Yeah. Same thing with Antoine Carr. They were the same exact player, but then you get Adam Keefe in here. Doesn't really shoot threes. Can't stretch the floor. He's slow. Can't jump. I mean, he just plays hard. He's a white Dennis Rodman, just not athletic.
He said a white Dennis Rodman.
And y'all had Howard Isley too.
I like Howard Isley.
I like Howard.
He was still young though.
They got screwed. I remember they got screwed. This will probably be in the other episode.
I already know.
Isley hits the three, and they let it. They took it away.
And
clearly you can see the ball go through the net before the buzzer hit. That messed everything up.
Sean, I hate to say it, that y'all was still gonna lose.
I don't know, man. That changed the momentum.
You give Howard's 3 and you take away Ron Harper's 2.
Right.
If that goes 7, the Jazz were winning that.
Yeah, at the house.
Yeah, they were losing 7.
We was coming for that.
That's why Mike knew he had to win that. He knew he had
to too.
Mike was like, I do not want Game 7 with these boys.
They didn't want it. They didn't want that.
Nah, traveling all the way back and forth from Park City to Salt Lake City to just come.
Mike was out there. Yes. They make Mike look like he was a Saint MJ, but we were like 5th grade.
When we close this thing, I got something I got to tell you that I was told. I want y'all to confirm or deny.
All right.
I know you. And I know you.
If I'm hearing this, right, if I'm hearing the stuff in 5th grade that MJ's out partying, it's gotta be something to it. I'm sure they weren't staying in Salt Lake.
I got something to you.
They were not.
Salt Lake.
did an interview and he said that game when Magic Johnson was saying that when he hit all them threes against Portland and he came and did like this to him, shrugged his shoulders. He said it wasn't that he was hitting threes. He said they was partying the night before.
He said they was up all night in the room.
Yeah. He said they were playing cards. So Magic was like, I was beating him all night. He wanted to keep playing. So he started like, nah, man, like I got to go to bed because I got to broadcast. He was like, all right. So he said he was so mad that Magic beat him in cards. He took it out on Clyde Drexler.
Yep. Same way he did
really
DJ after.
That stroke was for Magic. Just like he did Danny Ainge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Told DJ he had something for him. I lost some money. I got something for DJ tomorrow.
Yeah. Anybody got anything else they want to hit on? From episode 4, anything like that? Otherwise, we could wrap it up.
Episode 4, not really. I want to say that Rodman is still like the GOAT to me. Dude is like the prince of NBA, and his body count is tough with Tony Braxton, Vivica Fox, Madonna.
Oh yeah.
I was like, man, that dude out here getting to it.
Oh yeah.
And those black Chicago Bulls jerseys,
the pinstripe joints.
Why'd they take the pinstripes off of them? Was it the last year Mike played with them that's when they took them away?
That's another Jordan question.
The 72-10 season. That was the only year they had the pinstripes.
Really?
Every other year after they didn't have them.
Why?
They got to bring those back.
They kind of did. Nah, they kind of did have them. They got them now. It's a city uniform. You see the black. It's like a great pinstripe. Yeah, they got them back. It's a little different.
It ain't Mike wearing it, though.
Nope.
I mean, Mike was playing them. Now we got Zach LaVine wearing them.
It don't look right. It don't look right. We got to talk about how Jordan made basketball look cool. Like there was nobody in the game that no matter what they did, what they wore, Jordan looked cool doing it. He had some terrible outfits, like them jeans, whatever he was wearing.
Oh yeah,
but he just looked cool doing whatever
Mike
it was.
Steele said the same thing before we went live. The boot cut jeans, like Mike Steele was like, man, I didn't really care for the flu game 12s, but Mike made them look dope.
I don't think they make
them shoes don't look good on everybody. That's why I never really got into them because I didn't think they looked good on my. I'm like, they don't look like they do on Mike. So I don't know if I can wear these. Like the bubble joints, the ones with the bubbles on the sides. I don't know.
I think the greatest thing about this documentary is if you follow people on Twitter, you see some of the young guys that really didn't know all about how great Michael Jordan was. And you see like guys like Trey Young saying, "Man, I didn't know Michael Jordan won all those awards in one season." And we all knew Michael Jordan was a basketball god. These young kids, LeBron's great, but they think that no one can come close to LeBron.
Right.
But now watching it, and they're kind of like, "Oh, this is why all them old folks are saying Michael Jordan is giving everybody a chance to see him."
It's showing how he made his days better off the court in practice. You're saying, these guys prepared.
You know, my little nephews, Gerardo, he's like 22 now, 21, 22. And his dad like collects all his Jordan memorabilia, like Jordan, everything.
Like what we see in the background on your screen there.
He buys his dad like Jordans like all the time. But he never understood the significance, of like he doesn't get it. To him, it's like a fashion thing. So now, like, I asked him before we went on, I was like, "What do you think of the doc?" He's like, "Man, I can't wait for the rest of it." He's like, now I'm starting to understand the things y'all have been telling me about this guy, like for years. He's like, it's unreal because when people don't even remember like the high flyer that he was, like, you know what I mean? Like the in-game dunks. So now they're seeing all these highlights they haven't seen before, like from North Carolina, and his early years in the Bulls, how vicious he was all the way to the basket. He was a very strong finisher. You know what I mean? And it's more impressive because he's not as big as LeBron James is, So I agree with Charlie. It's been cool for this younger generation to experience part of what we all knew, what we grew up on,
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode, but I want to give everybody an opportunity to let the viewers out there know where they can find you. Sean, I'm going to start with you. Where can everybody find you?
Facebook, Sean Morris.
He said Facebook, Sean Morris.
Man,
Sean Morris is though.
Yeah, man.
Nice. Charlie, where can they find you?
You can find me, Coach Charlie Jones at CharlieB.Jones_ on Twitter.
Nice. Mike.
I'm at HC_Coach Mo on Twitter and on Instagram, I think. I don't know. I don't mess with Instagram like that. So my Twitter be jumping.
I know Sean's on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. I just don't use it that much, man.
Right. Byron.
What he does.
RAD on Instagram and Twitter. One more time. RADREMN.
Nice.
So
what we're going to do, obviously, everybody can kind of see the trend that we're doing, covering both episodes. We're going to try to stick to around, 6 o'clock Eastern, if we start on time, 6:30, somewhere in that range. And covering each episode, but we're going to try to have everybody back each week and just kind of split the episodes up like we've been doing. Just because of software limitations, is kind of how we have to do it. Right now, I wish they still had Google Hangouts and we'd have everybody all at once, but seems to be going well. But hope everybody has a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right.
See you next week.